Article 20 of the Zambian Constitution does perhaps provide quite expressive of how important this particular fundamental right is. And the Constitution guarantees you with the right to have the freedom to express yourself. You do remember very well from where you are coming from that you must have dealt with Article 20 and Article 3 in terms of looking at freedom of speech and association, and perhaps we also were going to deal with freedom of assembly and way. And in that particular celebrated London case of fixing the Mundi and 1906, and you saw very well that Mandiri Majie does express herself so well in about the 2000s, where she makes a very high-speed human rights decision in the Resident Doctors Association, the AG, using the purpose of law. Key to this particular discourse, because these particular aspects we are referring to are bordered on key important aspects. And so the former Secretary of State for the United States of America did perhaps explicitly provide in the following terms. If I was to recall what she said, if I can't go to the town square and protest, then it means I live where? In a clear state. I hope you're getting that particular important. If I can't go to the town square and protest, then it means I live in a clear state. Therefore, from that particular kind of, you can tell and perhaps appreciate how the Americans are taking these particular aspects of fundamental human rights to be very serious, whereas freedom of association was freedom of assembly. But today's business is predicated on the fact that we need to understand as what is meant by freedom of expression. You've got the right to express yourself in any way you feel like. This particular has been provided by the Constitution. Article 20 is quite expressive of what we are perhaps what we'll be dealing with. Suffice to mention that this particular fundamental right is broken. Again, from what you must have read in your constitutional law, that we see that perhaps the law gives you with one hand and states with another. So it's got these back clauses. And these are very important because the way the acts control agencies and the major mechanism that controls, right? So in the act as separate powers as they deal with the control. And you and I again don't understand the law is the constitution. Why? Because state. And in this regard, yes, fundamentally so unprecedented. What you do see is that this particular important right has also been spelled out in international law. And what I have in mind is perhaps need to think about the exclusive provision of the law in terms of what has been provided for the international human rights. Where, again, from that particular disposition, you can see that it has been well provided where in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the UDHR, I think was 8. It's quite expressive as well of what you see. You can see where in the International Covenant of Civil Rights, first generation rights, together with their attendants. So those are first generation rights. And again, right, so you see that they have perhaps got a bearing on what you see in manifesting in terms of looking at the International Covenant on economic, social, and cultural rights. Collectively, this is what is perhaps referred to as the International Bureau of Human Rights. And then we will find that there is this particular foundation of the fact that there is this freedom of expression that could be perhaps be bestowed upon human beings. And perhaps to put this in quite clear context, even when you open up Article 79 of the Zambian Constitution, and perhaps as it is housed in the Bill of Rights, you find that under Article 20, it is there that doesn't it under the will involve freedom of expression, which is very important. Right. Now, what you can get in the back of your mind is this particular fundamental right as much as perhaps the human rights. And again, you can add council you realize the fact that now you are something human rights. And the human right has got certain characteristics of this, and the minimum there What do you know about these human rights? They're considered very face. They are imprescriptible. They are non-inviolable as we right? They are imprescriptible. They are non-inviolable. They are inherent. The moment you perhaps you are born by nature bad, like this would be the human being. They become inherent. They become part of this is the point by nature itself. Okay, so this is and also what's fundamental right is perhaps to express yourself. Express yourself as much as you can in any discussion. Do it. Say whatever you want to say, as long as within the provisions of the law. And this is how sweet it is, right? Yes, because even when you would have perhaps would have let's say invest counselor for you as a Sharon tell you what we must have been in our science. And we can perhaps borrow from the way in science, right? That's how we call it that particular fundamental principle of pressure. It's more principles of pressure, right? That if I oh there's this and there's someone I needed to see you really just about 300 and if I know there isn't any opening, because what will happen? This thing will explode. This thing will because the pressure will build. That's exactly what happens with human beings. And I've always argued this and I'm telling them that see, yes, I think we need to do it the American way. Allow people to protect, allow people to express themselves in the way they basically want to, express themselves. And guess what? It comes in as a natural leader. Because naturally, because once one people have expressed themselves, they feel relieved. And I'm sure that's myself very important to somebody, right? And the moment you perhaps make your mind about and you perhaps you express yourself in the way that you are expressing yourself. Even have a child with them. Right? And people just very important. You have a child again. That's exactly what happened again in this field. But unfortunately, it's a fact to mention that they can't be absent because if they were absent, perhaps they didn't create because then customer something is that saying whatever she wants to say, she grabs himself, that she grabs whatever she wants. And that can be the for Anna. Again, what we are saying is we need to control. So we can't even report this particular and the point being made here, and that is perhaps where freedom is, that's where my freedom begins. You get the point, right? We should have respect for each other. So where one's freedom ends, perhaps for the other freedom begins to. And perhaps where the other's freedom begins to, that's where the other's freedom begins. So we live in a kind of environment where we live and see different ways. That's the position of perhaps the sunset. It's about adjusting. So much about this system of expression, which has been provided for in the constitutional legal orders, is found under articles 20, right? And if you perhaps you were to walk into a land, perhaps your base is going to the American Constitution, you will perhaps come across the celebrated case of the certain one in this is the where they are looking to give the presence. So what is for now the most important aspect that this particular fundamental right should be enjoyed. People should enjoy it to the fullest, right? Because for them they have access to that information that we talked about. And I think in our administration colleagues we are elated by the fact that we did perhaps access to information law. Quite effective, but it's the same that we put it for job and now we are in life. Yes, okay, so Council Precious is perhaps maybe if you can kindly call the kindly call Mr. Manu and almost immediately. Perhaps because that it does it meets our colleagues that perhaps a lot have for class, right? And so today's business is dealing with one fundamental part of the torts, which we do refer to as defamation. Defamation is a very important tort. It has to be understood in totality. What is it? Right. Now, my departure point perhaps is to quote one of the most important poetic adages that were cited by Shakespeare. And Shakespeare, in the words, says that I quote, "He that stealeth my peace does nothing, but he that destroys my name, period." I hope you able to relate to what Shakespeare was talking about, right? So meaning that I'm going by what Shakespeare comes to say is that he that stealeth my peace does nothing, but he that destroys my name, period. That particular statement is quite vague, and perhaps it goes to the root of the who one is, because as much as we live by a good name, and I think about the good name that you built over the years. I just want to think about the good name because you built over the years, and you started doing this name while it's like in your preschool. You went to primary school, you did this name. School, using this name, and you come to the university and you are still using this name. And you've got a reputation, not only at the university council, but you've got a reputation where? At church, in the family, and everywhere else. Right? And I think I must have also already started that perhaps a good name is better than this one. Right? And so you want to think about what you put in your life, Councillor Sharon. And guess what? It can just take one particular person to come and destroy your life. Right? Before you realize that's what your name would have been put into discontent. If you condemn it, if you ridicule, and how do you perhaps fix it? A broken reputation. It may perhaps be a mammoth task in actual fact, and sometimes it becomes very terrible, right? And then there's this particular kind of thought that comes in almost immediately to protect Tanzania Tanga's reputation, and perhaps writing and writing so on the basis of statement. So it's defamation. What is defamation? Defamation is a public, often a global statement that refers to the which reduces its reputation in the estimation of members of society. That is what defamation is. Okay? So what we are now saying is that defamation is the publication of an unlawful statement which refers to the claimant, uses the reputation of the claimant in the estimation of right members of society. And if you don't worry about amongst the definitions, I want to give you a write-up. But what is very important to know is for the Learned Council to conceptualize the working principle. The working principle. What do they perhaps talk and what do they speak? What are they addressing? So defamation is a publication of a statement which is unlawful in itself, which refers to the claimant, which perhaps reduces the standing of the estimation of one in the eyes of members of society. What does this do? What does it do? I think that's nowadays. So Wanama Waje, as was they pronounced himself so well in the period, this is the program manager, Radio Maria, 2000, does exemplify that when there's a publication of the statement, which is perhaps referring to the claimant, which has got this particular process of perhaps reducing the reputation of the claimant in the estimation of right members. That itself will constitute the defamatory statement. That is very, very important. So, speaking of that, we are seeing that defamation does produce certain aspects of the elements, and the elements for this that we need to take note of. And so, as we progress, as we look into the case of theory, this is the program Maria, Radio Maria. She had 2000. I want us to think about what is Lord is saying. Is pronouncing himself that it's about a publication of an unlocked statement, which does which reduces the reputation of the claimant in the estimation of the society. What is this thing doing? It is perhaps making other people counsel shiny or avoiding. Okay, so they will because and somebody says something why? It's because this particular statement is perhaps sensitive. The process is many other people avoid you, shy away from you. That I'm serious with this particular, this is so we need to be careful with the fact that there is a publication, right? There is a publication. Perhaps there's a statement, so which particular statement is referred to the claimant, and perhaps it is made reference to the claimant, and it is reducing the reputation of the claimant in the estimation of right members of society as a prayer. So, are the right members of society? Now, that's perhaps a key question that perhaps really is emanating. Who are the reasonable people of society? So, who are the right members of society? Right members? Because some of the right members of society who are shying away from the game. Right? And are quite well, there's no better way to appreciate what is coming out from the same presentation of Bacon versus Batty. Because Bacon versus Batty, guys, it's what we know is talking about. So, can someone lead this very case of Bacon versus Batty on the section you will come to it? But for starters, we need to comprehend what we are looking at in terms of first knowing what this particular act of the defamatory statement would be, right? And so, defamation, in case if you missed the case so on the platform, I want you to hook up the case of Bekoff versus Batty. Bekoff, B-E-K-O-double-F. Bekoff versus Batty. That's B-U, Batty is B-U. C-H-I-double-N, right? Bekoff versus Batty, you will read it at the appropriate time. For now, I would just want to perhaps propound on the working principle. So we understand what you entail, what they stand for, right? And so, a defamatory statement which is permanent in form is what is known as libel. Okay, in Latin, libel in English. Libel in Latin, libel in English. Right? So, a libel statement is one that is permanent in form. It is permanent. It's libel. And it's actionable per se, and it is actionable per se. So, libel itself is actionable per se. Right? So if we say libel is actionable per se, ladies and gentlemen, what are we saying? We are saying without damage, without damage. Right? Without damage. So if I go, Tanzania has perhaps made a publication which is referring to Uganda. And you are saying, you know, Uganda is not a good lecturer, right? The business particular publication. You need to prove it as long as you don't say it comes out. It's actually per se without proof of that. So the publication we're able to say it's there, it's in black and white, we are able to see it. No, it's this particular. Who came up with this particular publication? No, it's actually Tanzania. Oh, so Tanzania was talking about this and so on. So without proof of that, it's actionable. They say actionable. They say, all right, it's actionable. They say. I don't know how you can do this, but I'm not persuading you. So it is actionable saying, and what we say that this means that without proof of damage. So that's permanent report that because the publication is in the newspaper and you're referring to this particular person, this one is in Uganda, and that's why it's mentioned there. What are you doing? It's actually what I said. Without proof of damage. Now, there is certain aspects that denotes the form in which information can exist that we perhaps use with slender. Okay? So we say libel and slender. Now, for slender is a statement. Right? Okay, one option would say, but except in certain peculiar situations and perhaps there are form of them, and we will talk about it. So, actually, what we're saying is not actually, perhaps then let's actually say as well so so that would actually be the same. And then I guess it's so what is a slender statement? What is slender? The definition that comes by way of mouth. By way of mouth. Once it's reform way of mouth. So that particular kind of perhaps the humanitarian system that comes by way of mouth is known as slender. So this standard publications we are saying that they happen by way of they are transitory, right? So they are transitory. Okay, so by way of mouth. So transitory in nature. Okay, so transitory in nature means that by way of mouth. That's slender. So I hope and pray that from the outset, first of all, you've understood as what is meant by defamation. That defamation does not the publication of an unlawful statement that first claim and that reduces his reputation in the estimation of right document. That manifests in two forms when it is permanent, like when it is by way of mouth, we first reform that is slander. Okay, by way of mouth. And what I've said is that libel is actually what we say without proof of damage. That's very important. And like slander, for slanderous statements, they are not accepted for peculiar situations. Now, before I come to the four peculiar situations, I need to also mention that perhaps there could be a hidden meaning within a publication of statement which is unlawful. And so when there's a hidden meaning, ladies and gentlemen, what does it mean? It means that you have got an innuendo. An innuendo. So an innuendo is a hidden meaning in a publication statement, which is perhaps unlawful. Now, let's look at the four exceptions. The exceptions are key and very, very important. More than I would exactly can appreciate between liberal and right? So where there is imputation that one is going to be convicted of a criminal act, right? Well, that's the way you are that presumption is in the constitution. That is the position of the law. So it's not only I should go to competence to do decision as committed that somebody can call you. Otherwise, you are innocent. That's very, very important. That when it comes to status statements, that's an exception. When you are even saying, oh, before we get it, no, you can't say that. Right? Because you're not in code of competence. This is unless the code of competence pronounce themselves. So other than imputation that one will be convicted of a criminal act, there is another which is very, very important. And this one does express the fact that perhaps there is imputation on one's hobby into a professional office or indeed profession as a or trade. Oh no, no, you and look at that, and you are saying this and you perhaps getting your body. When it comes to blood and is reading the loss of the book. Yes, I think the point, right? What are you trying to do as an example? Oh, this particular statement is what is this thing we referring to? Sorry? Yeah, because it is not that and even if people were coming to remember the mind, we say that here will is in mind. So that in itself qualifies to be a standard system. That's very great. Right? So yes, imputation into the holding of office or perhaps profession in one particular imputation that one of the office of the which is also very, very important. One that depicts the fact that one perhaps has a very imputation that one is suffering from a very disease. Oh my goodness, people want to perhaps mingle around with someone who got a disease. You tell me. Because if I has got a disease, right? And you are spreading it and I got COVID. And you are spreading such kind of lies around. Telling people, Uganda has got a disease. The next time somebody sees something in Uganda, you are running out of perhaps the disease of this when you and I know that some of these diseases perhaps was not sexually, intention is perhaps the sexual contact. Hasn't been it. Is it not a position? It is. Because when you start airborne, if you run away from one thing that you know, you are running now. Like it's a competition of a statement. That is resulting in people running or shining and avoiding this particular issue. So yes, I want to give people that. So in terms of imputation that one is suffering from a venereal disease, right? And of course, the other one is where perhaps this unchastity on the reputation of our man. Now, I've always argued with colleagues that if I talk also, we will be saying, the question that we will ask is how do you know? Because it gets too tangled, isn't it? If you are saying this girl is a bitch, then we are saying that you're also a womanizer. Are you getting what I'm saying, right? Yes, how did you know? How did you know that this girl is a bitch? How did you know that she's a bully? Then it means that you're also a womanizer. Because it takes you to tango. And the law almost immediately protect the recognition of the woman. Because the woman should be treated properly. With all the deities that is attached to that. And I think the objection to the standpoint of the law is we need to look at the dignity of the woman, isn't it? Because the woman is dignified. Alright? She should be given special respect. And not David Juma just come in and say whatever that they want to say in terms of a woman. And I think when you were dealing with how are you calling those offenses in your criminal law? Offenses against public morality, vis-a-vis where speciality in natural offenses, and so on and so forth. You saw how the law was very serious with these things that they talking about. You guys don't start to see. Sorry? How? Council confirm, because I think from here it shows all the indicators are showing that I'm clear. Council Precious, good afternoon. Kindly confirm whether I'm not being heard, or Council Humphrey?
Actually, sir, the audio is not the audio is breaking, sir.
Oh, it is breaking, but are you now getting me here?
Yes, now I can get you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I think for the avoidance of doubt, then we will just perhaps adjust where the Bluetooth technology is in terms of where the microphone is. Right. So yes, and as I was saying, Council Precious, good afternoon. This also confirm that you are getting us for quite clear now.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm not getting you clear now.
Thank you very much. Right. So, yeah. So as I was saying, that when it comes to the four exceptions, you need to be quite expressive of the fact that you understand that from where we come from, we've understood, and I would have said, and I would have explained that defamation is the publication of the statement that tends to lower the reputation of the claimant in the estimation of members of society. The judge Mwanamongo said, as was in the celebrated Zambian case of the former manager, Radio Maria Chipata, 2000. That is quite expressive of that. And I've said that for defamation to subsist, there is certain elements which should be required. And essentially, even before we come to the elements themselves, I must have mentioned that expressively it does manifest in terms of two different types of forms. When it is permanent, it's libel, libel in Latin. Is actionable per se, without proof of damage. That is the position. And then when it comes to the other aspect, is that which has to do with statements that perhaps in transitory form by word of mouth, and that is the slander. And what we were saying was that for slanderous statements, and so slander does denote one important aspect that is not actionable to say generally, so meaning that there are certain exceptions, and so the four exceptions that I was referring to, perhaps in the following itemized way, that one, perhaps it will address an aspect of where there's imputation into one being perhaps being convicted of a criminal offense. And what I was saying, Council Precious, is that nobody is allowed to say that unless a sentence has been passed by a court of competent jurisdiction, because one is proved to be innocent, not until proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. Remember where we are coming from our criminal law. And perhaps it's been quite expressive, right? So in our constitutional law, that you are innocent, not until proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. And so that's settled so well. And again, when you perhaps traverse fair, you then do realize that other than the aspect of imputation into criminal acts, there is this other act of imputation into the holding of office or profession, right? He is not fit to be the boss. He is not fit to be in that particular office. So how are you perhaps arriving at that particular analogy? Okay, and so that in itself is an exception. And so that actually makes it quite clear that somebody can sue to that particular effect, because it's got this particular, prowessness of bringing somebody into disrepute, counsel, into ridicule. Before you realize that your reputation would have been perhaps been messed up. But other than that, there's then another aspect that we talk of, that maybe one is suffering from a venereal disease, right? And again, we were saying, Council Marvelous here, that I mean, how would you then perhaps explain it that one is suffering from a venereal disease, and who's going to like it? Who would want to perhaps talk to you when they hear that you are suffering from some disease? And in most cases, Council, you know how human beings are. They're quite discriminatory in nature. At the moment they see you, one gender yako, you are afraid. In a bad translating that this person that has got the disease is coming there, they will, before you realize it, they would have been running away from you, avoiding or sharing that other particular person, even when it's not true. And we were expressive of the fact that, I mean, this particular disease, as if it's airborne, when you and I know very well that perhaps maybe if it has a sexual disease, it can only be transmitted through sexual contact, as it were. Perhaps that is what is coming. So yes, that can be one such kind of an act that we can talk of. So speaking of those particular aspects, those are very, very important. Okay. Yes, ladies, council, I can see a hand there at back. Yes.
Yes, you say someone developed more of experience is immediate even though absent. I have insisted that even if someone, even if you put someone, you cannot go out and say that because about you see that you're supposed to stay in example.
No, it's true because I mean, what you're saying is true. One of my colleagues just came from some advanced students teaching where he was about doing his postmasters and in human rights, and then somebody petitioned the courts, and this particular person was saying, "I've got the right to be forgotten. You've talked about me for a long time. Yeah, forget about me. I've got the right to be forgotten." I don't know if you reach that era cancer matters, right? Because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you still have to grapple with first generation rights that are locked up in Article 79 as a result of the failed referenda of 2016. You failed to bring in second generation rights in the other now rights that are emerging, third generation rights in the emerging rights, and so on and so forth. Now, when you're speaking of these particular principles that we are giving you, yes, in one particular breath, so you do realize that this thing, that perhaps, I mean, the point being made is that do you just make statements for the sake of just making them? Because even after when somebody has been convicted, so is it that they also have a life to live, isn't it? What is perhaps the rationale behind punishment? And again, it goes to your criminal law, that the idea behind punishing someone is to give them a just desert, isn't it? Whether you will be looking at it in terms of the fears of punishment, whether it is retribution, and so on and so forth, reformation and so on and so forth, from what you must have learned from those particular aspects. But by the end of the day, as and when somebody would have said their sentence, then you need to come back. Now, are you going to leave this particular act hovering on top of their head as if it's a floating charge? You can't do that. Because even when it comes to commercial transactions, you find that the charge itself should one day or the other crystallize that particular thing. Isn't it, Leonard? So I do agree with you entirely that yes, there is extent to which perhaps these particular things can be talked of. Perhaps the inverse is quite true, but because then expressive of the fact that everything should come to an end. Because trust me, Council, we've been waiting for our Savior to come, just in the same way He went, and He will come back to come and get us. So we go to paradise, right? And I guess what? We'll be the ones in charge there, and we'll be in charge because of them. The registry. So if you want to make peace, if you want to be with us in paradise, make peace with me. Yes, that's what the ones in charge of the registry. That's what I'm saying. This time, yes, and then we read everything. Okay, so I hear you for this. Now, when there is a hidden meaning within a publication, that is what we do refer to as an innuendo. When there is a hidden meaning within a publication, that is what we mean by referring to as an innuendo. And she's fond of gossiping. She's very good at gossiping. Like she's putting on a blue dress, which is quite expressive, quite stylistic. It's got this shiny kind of ornaments on the shoulders. Right? Who are we talking about? Yes, I'm just making a general description. Absolutely, yes. Because there is the people that should know Sharon very well. They know her. Sorry? Oh, Shalom. Thank you very much for the guidance. Okay, you said Shalom. Oh, Shalom. Okay, Shalom. Okay. So if by that description, Council Matata could perhaps make inference that we refer to Shalom. How? Those people generally that know Shalom and they are able to decipher and place meaning to what would have been produced in terms of the statement. So it's a publication, right? There's a hidden meaning within a publication. And this particular hidden meaning has been seen by right-thinking members of society. That no, the only person that is putting on a blue dress that is expressive of the fact that it's looking quite stylistic like that, and it's got some nice shining ornaments on the shoulders, is only that perhaps of Sharon. And perhaps this was bought from England. You get what I'm saying, right? You can make that particular inference, and that is very key. But the hidden meaning behind is what is referred to as an innuendo. I double N. IMMUENGO. Sounds so precious. I hope I'm making myself clear. And then you will be thinking that perhaps this is much simpler as it may sound to be. See it in the exam, because it's usually hidden in the material parts. It's someone coming to tell you their story. Yes, when I was approaching the bar, and I found there was some notice written to that particular effect. My name is Ben. And someone is saying, he who sought the game should burn in hell. Can somebody look for the case of Ben versus G? Because I need to put these things in proper perspective. So on the platform, somebody to look for the case of Ben versus G. B-R-Y-N-E, Ben. Right? And you go into the club and you've got this name by the name of Ben. And when somebody has written that he who has sought the game should burn in hell. You know, somebody must have told the local authorities about what was happening. Right? What about this other particular person who's going to say, she's got big bags, which can perhaps, fill the laboratory. Are you hearing that? Now, what I don't know is that whether the size of the bags should perhaps determine the size of the material that comes out. I don't know. I don't know. Again, I need to also to start from the correction. Right? Right? You are hearing this, right? She is ugly. Like, he's ugly like straight. Huh? Hear that story, guys. Hear that story. Hear that statement. Is it statement made in, perhaps in a good, in good spirit? I know these are things. If you look like it, right? Yeah, I think maybe it's an ingredient. Like a food panda. Yeah, they're there because I mean, really, and I thought that if you've noted that colleagues, even in depiction of cartoon characters, in most cases, if you look at the voices, you compare it, right? They make the cartoon characters from the actual person, isn't it? There's some form of resemblance, maybe just perhaps they come in and they just change the features here. But in most cases, so this is right. This is exactly this person, right? This is the Lion King. Exactly the way perhaps this particular person is looking. So this is even the looks. Yeah. Has somebody found the case of Ben versus Jim? Also, Precious, have you found the case of Ben versus Jim? Perhaps I want you to read it from there so that as you read it from there, everyone here can get it, because here we're using this Bluetooth technology that is perhaps broadcasting this quite loud. But and like when somebody is speaking from here, I want everybody to maximize on the benefits of the cases, right?
Sir, I didn't hear the cases clearly.
Okay, it's Ben, B R Y N E, Ben. This is Jean, G E A N. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, if you find it, cancel read for us. So I want everyone to benefit from the case. Because if they read from here, you will not get it loud and clear. But if you read it from there, then everyone can hear you very loud here. So as we are waiting for the reading, what has exercised the minds of the course colleagues is perhaps the position of mere vituperation. You know what mere vituperation does mean? Mere
Okay, sir, I found the case. I found the case.
Okay, you can go ahead and I'll talk about mere vituperation later on. Yeah, okay.
Okay,
go ahead,
it's
please.
Ben versus Dean. Fact liberal. Notice on club's wall words capable of defamatory meaning. Facts. The claimant was golf club member while the defendants were the proprietors and the secretary of the club. By a rule of the club, members were asked not to put any notices or placards in the club's premises without the secretary's consent. In the meantime, the defendants had some automatic gambling machines on the premises for the exclusive use of club members. The presence of the gambling machines was notified to the police, and the machines have consequently been removed. The day after the removal of the machines, somebody put a notice of the club's wall containing the following typewritten verse. For many years upon this spot, you heard the sound of a merry bell. Those who were rushed and those who were not lost and made a spot of cash. But he who gave the game away, may he burn in hell and rue the day. The claimant brought a legal action. The claimant brought a legal action.
Precious, hold on. Are
Yes,
you hearing that? Are you hearing that?
yes,
I mean, because that particular notice was very strong, right? And you know, colleagues, you lawyers, you know, it's surprising. You don't get surprised. Yeah? You don't really get surprised, right? No, yeah. I say, hey, sure. But don't overdo it, because again, when you tell them to be, ooh, yeah, so again, you can't overdo it. Okay, Council, please go ahead. I said I need to express that to you in terms of what was coming out. Please pick it up from there, Council.
okay, say. So those who were rushed and those who were not lost and made a spot of cash, but he who gave the game away, may he burn in hell and rue the day. The claimant brought a legal action, alleging that the defendant put up the notice that concerned him. He saw the verse as meaning that he had reported the machines to the police and was thus disloyal to other club members. Issues. The trial judge found in favor of the claimant, stating that the words were defamatory and given the defendants complete control over the club's walls. They could have easily removed the paper but refused to do so, thereby offering their approval the defendants' appeal. Decision. The Court of Appeal reversed the trial judge's decision, albeit with one of the three judges dissenting. It held that the words of the verse could not constitute defamation, merely alleging that someone started a proper procedure for preventing, suppressing crime, here illegal gambling, could not prima facie be defamatory. Furthermore, Slessor LJ stated there was no evidence that any of the defendants, apart from the secretary, had anything to do with the verse's publication. Agree LJ, dissenting, found that the verse was defamatory and that by leaving the verse on the wall, the defendants participated in the commission of the libel. Are you finished, sir?
Well done, Council. You know, it's quite perhaps impressive, and the court does, you know, express it in clear terms, right? So, who are the right-thinking members of society? And so, was there a publication to this particular event? So, what was the effect of this particular statement, which was, you know, published to that, particular, extent? And there is no better way of putting it, but perhaps to appreciate what the lordships are saying in this case. And the last time I checked, we were alienated by the fact, Council Matter, that this is the MGM has did and put it quite clear in its clear terms. Because you need to now tell us, what is a publication? Are the words themselves defamatory? Are they referring to the claimants? And do they have the ability and perhaps the prowessness of making people avoid or shun you? Can somebody take us to the celebrated case? And the Council, again, we would appreciate, Council Precious, if you can read the case of use of oath versus MGM. Use of oath is written as YOU double SOU double use of versus the MGM. Use of versus the MGM. Because in Tanzania, you need to be in a position to tell us that there is a publication of a statement. It is here you can, if there was way of perhaps touching it, I would have said, here is this particular statement, it is here, council. That I can even put it has been published. And it is perhaps referring to Council Matata. And what it does is that it's got the ability perhaps to reduce your reputation in the estimation of right-thinking members of society. Now, who are the right-thinking members of society? If you are playing around, if you're not getting it correctly, so that may be a recipe for serious problems. That can be a recipe for serious problems. And I know how defamation brings problems. Because on the face of it, council, I've seen people, and many times council people, they've got, let's go to court, and you are convinced beyond doubt, council, that you've got a very good case, and they're just to fail on the technicality because you did not establish the principles, council. Right? And you can't imagine the kind of embarrassment it does place on you as a lawyer, counsel. Because not only do you become an embarrassment to yourself as a lawyer, but you become an embarrassment to nature. Now, to avoid perhaps counsel is exhibiting such high levels of incompetence. Maybe incompetence is an understatement. Gross incompetence. The basis for us to understand this thing. My learned counsel, please, if you found a case of use of versus MGM, what is your favorite film production unit, Council Matata, other than MGM? Paramount? Which other one? Which one do you like? Which one do you like, colleagues? Council Nindanga, the one that is good in picture. I like Paramount for good picture production and sound. Disney, yes, Disney is quite good, and I think Disney is the one that perhaps brought us Lion King, right? Ah, very good. Yeah, very good. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, yes. No worries, right? Okay.
I found the case.
This council we are waiting.
It's Yusupov versus Metro Goldwyn Mayer. The facts. Metro Goldwyn Mayer Limited produced a film in which a man named Rasputin brought about the destruction of Russia, but was subsequently murdered by Prince Shegodev and others. In the film, Princess Natasha had sexual relations with Prince Shegodev, one of the murderers of Rasputin, but was also raped by Rasputin. In real life, Princess Irina Yusupov was married to Prince Yusupov, the man who assisted in the murder of Rasputin. The film was a combination of both fiction and real-life facts. The imputation is that Princess Irina Yusupov was raped by Rasputin. Issues. Lord Justice Scruton, the defendants, say there was no evidence on which a jury, properly directed, could find that reasonable people would understand the Princess Natasha of the film to be Princess Irina the plaintiff. 2. Lord Justice Scruton, the defendants say that if we are to take the Princess Natasha of the film to be identified with Princess Irina, the plaintiff, there was no evidence on which a jury, reasonably directed, could find the film to be defamatory of the plaintiff. Lord Justice Scruton, the defendants say, assuming both of those points are decided against us, the damages were excessive. They were such as no jury, properly directed, could give in the circumstances of this case. Ratio decidendi. Principle. The imputation may be defamatory if it tends to make the plaintiff shunned or avoided. Not only is a matter defamatory if it brings the plaintiff into hatred, ridicule, or contempt by reason of some moral discredit on a part, but also if it tends to make the plaintiff shunned or avoided and without any moral discredit or habeas. One may, I think, take judicial notice of the fact that a lady of whom it has been said that she has been ravished, albeit against her will, has suffered in social reputation and opportunities of receiving respectful consideration of the world. Principle. For an imputation to be defamatory, it is irrelevant whether the plaintiff was at fault or immoral. Lord Justice Lesser stated at page 587, I, for myself, cannot see that from the plaintiff's point of view. It matters in the least whether this libel suggests that she has been seduced or ravished. The question whether she is or she is not the more or less moral seems to be immaterial in considering this question whether she has been defamed.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Yes, I see
Council
it.
Precious. Thank you very much, Council Precious. I'm sure you are seeing that. I think these particular aspects that we're discussing here are very pertinent, synonymous to what we see in our everyday, activities. And it's about this particular person making this perhaps unfounded statement against, that other particular person, this other particular person talking about this. And I don't know whether you've got that, such kind of people in here, they're just very good at fabricating lies. They talk, and when they tell you something, you may even want to believe that it's gospel truth. And when you cross-check, you just find that's a lie. And as if they've got a factory of lies in their mind, something like that. It's a thing that you can't just, really explain. I don't know whether those people that are very good at gossiping, right? And as if they are perhaps the manufacturers of gossip, if they are such kind of a thing, then they sort of be gossiping against their fellow colleagues and all that. But then maybe gossip, and then it does not end up in injuring the reputation of the other. Perhaps problems come in when there is literally an aspect of imputation that touches on the reputation of the other. Because then again, don't forget that you owe that other particular person a duty of care. Now, what about for purposes of vituperation, right? And so vituperation is in the aspect again is exercise the minds of the court. Vituperation is written as VI. That's VITUPERATION. Vituperation. So who knows? Maybe there could be some A+ student in here, right? Maybe I may have some A+ student. Who knows what vituperation does mean? They could be those bookworms. There's lawyers that read. They will go an extra mile, and you find that all of you could be the A student, but then would give them the plus. There's nothing that is as sweet as having a plus on your A. It is quite sweet, and I think again I need to also perhaps even remind you that as it stands right now, you know that your degree is a distinction, right? As we're speaking right now, your degree is a distinction. It depends on what you do with going forward at the time you finish in the 4th year course. If you're a serious student and you protect it, you study, it will remain as a distinction. If you are less, perhaps if you're careless, it may reduce into a merit. If you become again much more of someone who's not serious, then it may go into a credit. Worst case scenario, you may slide into a silence. And in today's world where the world is becoming competitive, you can't afford to go with a you can't. And then once you get your distinction or your merit transfer, trust me, things will be smooth sailing and you'll be very shocked. They'll be looking for you. Right in Tanga, who's the student in Tanga who's got a distinction from St. University? They'll be looking for you. And then the opportunities are there. Opportunities are there, right? Opportunities are there. The moment you get your distinction, they will be looking for you because just jobs, right? There's certain firms that say, what is that as a student? We want her. We want her to come and work with us. They will sponsor you for your CRD and for your other services. So that's how you think you learn. I've always told my students that you get that job in a student. Make that money, right? Don't try to last minute times, right? And yes, what about the aspect of vituperation? So mere abuse in terms of the language that is being used. The language is just merely abusive, so to speak, right? And so what is the position? I mean, you can't take the aspect of mere verbal abuse to some form of defamation, right?
So when I come back, we know. When I know that.
You've heard of those particular things. And for those that do not understand, if you don't talk well, perhaps they must have discredited me, or perhaps they must have said something against me. Did it amount to a defamatory statement? That's the question that we ask. Right? So we need to put up a clear distinction. What is an insult? For purposes of law, who knows what an insult is? We're not considering times that I can take things for granted that I don't want to these things and attend it to. What is an insult? What does it mean to be insulted? Yes, okay. Perhaps quite, since it's quite, we can say subjective, maybe it can be discussed later on, right? Because really, as they would say, it's shalom. I don't know whether you've heard of that statement. Perhaps says that love lies in the eyes of who? The beholder. So yes, so you may be seeing her like that, but the other people that are celebrating. Yes, so yes, so please, lawyers should always make peace where they are. It's not to it's very, very important. Isn't it, Leonard, colleagues, right? Peace is very, very important for lawyers. And that was just, I know that was only, but the example is this also okay, but except perhaps the imputation has been made on our colleague, right? Okay, so yes, but what we are saying is that we can just simply say that we are cousins. So we can just say, Shalom there and the other colleague are cousins. I think cousins can play like that. Yes, it's fine, right? So that we make peace. I like this man. That's great. That is great. Okay, so that's how it is, colleagues. What about the possible defensive? Right? And so what I want you to think about in one particular place, because then when you say, my Lord, we were compelled to perhaps establish this particular story because it was one that was premised and predicated in public interest. We made fair comment. It was justified. Justification is isn't it? You are not perhaps you are producing this particular statement. Hey, my Lord, it is true. It is true. Yes, I know the truth pains. The truth pains. So it is true, my lords. That particular publication that we had made did refer to the claimant, and it is true, he did it. My lord, we've got evidence. It is in public domain, and everyone knows about it. So justification, fair comment, truth itself. My lord, we've got privileged rights. And so it is privileged. So whether it is qualified privilege or perhaps it's absolute privilege, it's one particular aspect. And I'm sure you see these particular aspects go on. Think of those particular statements that you see where in the National Assembly, as it were, right? When they are perhaps debating, when the members of Parliament are debating, whatever is said on the floor of the House remains on the floor of the House, isn't it, right? And you even hear, you would even hear. I mean, so think about what you hear on, and perhaps when you're following Parliament radio, and even when you're watching on TV. And in certain jurisdictions, Council, you would have even seen where the members of Parliament are even exchanging blows, isn't it, colleagues, right? Yes. And I think in one case many years ago, we had a case of the later Minister of Finance, Honorable Ronald Paynes, then and I think some form of bad talk exchange. And so he was calling the members of Parliament thieves, and then they turned around and said, "You are the big thief yourself because you're in charge of Ministry of Finance, so you are stealing." And he never went anywhere else. And then they come out and you'll be very shocked. They even smile. I want to cheat away. I am not the ones that were arguing vehemently there in that particular house. So because they know that there are certain privileges people enjoy, isn't it? Or indeed when perhaps you follow these particular publications that come in form of perhaps quarterly or maybe it's annually reports. I think what I have in mind is think of perhaps those reports that come from the Financial Intelligence Center. thing, isn't it, Bennett colleagues, right? You know, a politically exposed persons, A, B, company D, perhaps supply A, and they were paid the sum of such amount of money. And that's what, you know, in India, you can't just come and, no, because I've got a company, so it appears they're talking about me. No, you can't do that. Because that's perhaps, you know, an institution that is mandated by law to make those kind of publications. So there's some form of rights that perhaps they enjoy. Okay, so I also want to think about those particular possible defenses, that whether it is in form of truth, justification, privilege, whether it's absolute or perhaps qualified is one thing, right? But what is very important is to know that there are some form of a kind of perhaps a possible defenses that can literally be put across to a particular effect and extent. Okay, so I have itemized a few cases here. You can hook up the case of course, for Tolay on Mayor vituperation. I'll talk about it, I think, in the write-up, but then perhaps you can read Bekoff and Batu in detail later on. You look for the actual case itself, the one that is quite long, right? You don't go for the summarized one, because for most cases, you find that the summarized version may just go for the material facts and the holding and perhaps the racial descent and so on and so forth. But then for the ease of reference and perhaps new appreciating what that particular case is all about, better you go into the main case. Mateke and Chinkuri, this is the Times Printback vintage cases is very, very important. Masheke, and these are great generals. These two are great generals in our jurisdiction. This is General Marimba Masheke, and this is General Chinkuri. These are celebrated generals, and they had an issue with the Times Printback, linked, newspaper, right? And so you read it, and you'll be elated by the fact that you learn about a lot of things in terms of the working principles. And of course, Yusuf in this is NGM. It's the case that the Learned Council cases is just went for us, Sullivan versus the New York Times newspaper is a brilliant case. It's a must-know case. It's a sweet case, It's sweet, right? And again, I need to re-emphasize, it's a must-know okay, and I think at this particular juncture, colleagues, I want you to take note of the following way. Perhaps you will need to write for the next. Is how many minutes? We just remain with a few minutes, and I want you to write this particular important, perhaps definition, the standard definition of defamation. We're starting with the standard definition of defamation. Please be on your marks. Start. Put a star and write the following. Or unless if there are some specific questions and some immediate reactions before we go to the write-up. Are there any questions, please?
Say we didn't get the last cases.
Okay, the last cases, of course, they will come in the write-up, but I can still give them to you. Sullivan versus the New York newspaper. Sullivan, SULL. Okay, and Sullivan versus the New York Times newspaper. I hope and pray that you've gotten that. Is it clear? Yusopov versus the MGM.
Yes, sir. What about the other one?
Yusopov, the one that you read for us, Yusopov versus MGM.
Okay, that one.
Okay, Masheke, Chinkuri. Masheke and Chinkuri. So when you just Google Masheke and Chinkuri, this is the Times print back. This is the in fact, I don't know if it's described as trespass to the person or you know, you guys, you know, I don't know, I don't understand why you don't use legal terms, right? You should use legal terms. So this is trespass to the person, right? Then, right? You should be enjoying these terms, colleagues. You know, you put them in practice, right? So, this is, appears it could be an assault. This perhaps appears to be a battery, right? And perhaps you even cite the case of Wilson. This is bingo. There's a lot of work, colleagues. I'm feeling sorry for you. I do feel sorry for you. There's a lot of work. And Council Precious, we were waiting for you. You've written much letter and simply.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we can start the write up. Put a stand saying defamation is the publication of a statement which reflects on a person's reputation and tends to lower him in the estimation of right-thinking members of society generally, or tends to make them shun or avoid him, end quote. Okay, I'll pick it from the top. I want you to now punctuate it. Okay, I'll pick you to now punctuate this particular definition. This particular definition is a must-know definition. Every lawyer should know this particular definition. So defamation is, and I quote, open quote, so it's putting up the quotation, open quote, the publication of a statement which reflects on a person's reputation and tends to lower him in the estimation of right-thinking members of society generally, or tends to make them shun or avoid him, end quote. Let's hope you closed my quote. The tort of defamation, therefore, deals with injury to one's reputation. Okay, are you getting that particular position of the law? It has to be understood in that particular, regard that, what is at stake here is your reputation, counsel. Right? That there's no better way of thinking about it, counsel, because what I know is that your reputation, Counsel Matata, is a priceless commodity. Right? Is a priceless commodity. I mean, if somebody was to mess up your reputation, because where are you going to get it? I mean, it's not like you need to go into the shop and I want to buy my reputation. You can't. You can't, counsel. So your reputation matters a lot. You have to guide your reputation, no jealousy. And even protect it against those other individuals that can just come into your lap and perhaps almost mess it up. So what we are saying therefore, counsel, is that the tort of defamation therefore deals with injury to one's reputation. A priceless commodity which ought to be protected by the law. A priceless commodity which ought to be protected by the law, whilst balancing that interest with the defendant's constitutional right to freedom of expression. While balancing that interest with the defendant's constitutional right to freedom of expression. as provided for under Article 20 of the Zambian Constitution, as provided for under Article 20 of the Zambian Constitution. Okay, I think I've said a lot and it's been mouthful. And I want you to perhaps make reflections on what I've said. Because whatever I've said is quite important. It's voluminous enough. And in our next meeting, we will continue with the write-up and perhaps break down the various constituent elements that need to be established in terms of marrying the working principles. Because now we are breaking down the definition itself in its smallest constituent elements. And so what does it actually mean that perhaps there's a publication? You need to demonstrate to us. And so what is publication? You need to demonstrate that there was a publication. And you need to show that it was referring to the claimant. Yes, it's this one particular case and it's Mundanda we are referring to here. And we are able to tell, okay, so this is Mundanda that we're talking about here. And so perhaps the resultant, effect of the published, the statement is what is also very, very, very key, is perhaps injurious, right, to his reputation because it has made other people avoid Mundanda. And I think the things that we will now try to look at in detail. So there is still a lot of work coming ahead. Once we are done with definition of character, straight away we go into vicarious liability. The vicarious liability, those those will be running side by side, then we go into product liability. And so on, and then we'll see how we traverse. Before we realize it, we would have been done with the syllabi and calling the day, waiting for the big day, the exam day, right? Yeah, of course, we see how we traverse around. And saying that the exam is perhaps around the corner is an understatement. The exam with us, right? So meaning that we need to put in more, right? Okay. So colleagues, that case, we can call it a day, unless if there are some specific questions that you would want us to address. Unless if there are some specific, questions and there's something that you want us to address in particular. Otherwise, if not, I wish to thank you most sincerely that you found time within your busy schedule to be with us this particular afternoon. And we are delighted. Perhaps we wish you well. Thank you very much, and best regards, colleagues.
Já pirei, né?